when things are going great, I want to share everything. Oh, our sales were up, 27.5%, right? And then it's a contrast, right? When things aren't as good, right? And so I have to balance, like, when things are good and when things are challenged, like to keep it a consistent level. People look to me to be, kind of a steady hand as we're moving forward. And I think that's the thing that, I think about being steady and being consistent, and having, like I said, that team around me that helps me do that. Should I say this? Should I say that? And it's very helpful. It's, a few of our leaders are ones that are, particularly good at that. That I trust them.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to talk about a culture of openness. And what I really mean by this is a culture that's transparent with each other. They're talking about the things, even the bad things or the secret things. But when you have a culture of openness, you have a deeper sense of loyalty, and people understand this, and there's trust there that really goes a miles deep. When you think about your company, I'm sure that you would love for it to be very open and where you guys can tell each other anything. Well, that starts by leading by example. Our special guest today is the CEO of Analytics8. They've been on the Inc. list before, recognized as one of the fastest growing companies in their space. They're a data analytics company. Analytics8 really doing a lot of great things for clients with dashboards and even AI. But David Fussichen and I sat down and talk about a culture of openness and how that impacts the company, how that impacts the work that they do, how they hire people, how they engage with people to create this culture of openness. So hopefully you'll find that very helpful today if you're trying to change your culture. When you think about your growth, I want you to think about you evolving as a leader. My name is Gene Hammett. I am an executive coach. We do leadership development. And what we're really known for is helping companies that are in fast growth mode have the kind of team alignment that they need in order to really perform at their optimal levels. Team alignment is not something a lot of people talk about or even think about, but when you don't have it, things are very frustrating. There seems to be like you're in quicksand or running on the beach. It's just a lot slower and harder than it should be. Well, we help you figure out what's getting in the way of that, and we help you right the ship. One of the things that we do is close the leadership gap. If there are people at the highest levels of the companies performing at a high level, and the managers and directors below that are not performing at the level you need them to, we can help them do that with the tools we use, the coaching, the training, and everything gets back in alignment, and the company can grow at the optimal pace. So when you think of that, you're curious about what's next, make sure you reach out to me, genehammett.com, and schedule a call with me if you want to talk about what is standing in the way of your success and your company growth. Just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call today. Now, here's the interview with David. Hey, David, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fantastic. We're going to have a great interview today, but before we dive into this, tell us about your company, Analytics8.
We are a data and analytics services company. So we look at kind of things in three buckets, I would say. Data strategy, we're famous for that. If you go Google that, at least as of now, we're one of the top hits on that. So it's helping companies figure out where they are today, where they want to go into the future, just generally as a company, what data has to do with that. And then we do all the infrastructure work behind the scenes. That's a lot of the things that are kind of popular now. You Snowflake, Databricks, AWS, Azure, these kind of technologies, and all of the techniques to make that scale and make it do what you want it to do. And then the analytics on the front end, it's both business intelligence, reporting and dashboards and things like that, and increasingly, especially starting last year, a lot of AI work. So helping companies use their data to help them with their AI solutions as well. So, and we've been doing this for quite a long time, and it's a fantastic industry to be in. Super interesting, super volatile, a lot of opportunities and a lot of challenges that companies are facing in this field.
I love data. I love spreadsheets. It's just really weird how much I see things and patterns that way with data. So I can have a lot of respect for what you're doing because it's not what I do for my life. I have data that runs my business. But you mentioned AI. Where do you think AI is going to make an impact in the work that you guys do for clients over the next 3 years?
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of companies and a lot of businesses and a lot of people I talk to a word that it's going to be a threat to their business or a threat to to people's jobs and things like that. And I think that's certainly an issue or something to be considered across all industries. But for us in particular, it's awesome because companies need to do even more with their data to make sure that it can that you're going to get the right answers and do the right thing with AI. So there's a lot. It's very, like I said, volatile. I think that's almost going to be like the word of the year for us in terms of what's going on with data. That's getting garbage in, garbage out. You got to make sure that data, and there's a lot of it. Most of the work with any kind of AI or really any kind of analytics work is that kind of below the surface iceberg stuff, right? The stuff you can't see that supports the things that you do see. So there's a lot of work to be done with a lot of organizations to do that. And companies are just figuring out what can be done with it. And it's all this generative AI stuff is that's new to us too in the last year. So we've been we're experts in data, we're experts on the front end stuff, but it's new frontiers for everybody.
One of the big things I keep hearing about is the ability to take AI engines and be able to use it with your own content, your own data.
Yes.
And
Yep,
I
very
imagine
much.
that's kind of where you're looking at how that's going to impact the way you serve your clients.
Totally. Yep. So instead of, and I guess a real specific answer to your prior question is a lot of this business intelligence work, a lot of the reports and dashboards, a lot of that kind of work, I see that, and our experts see that shifting a lot more to kind of an AI kind of workload. Put the right tools and processes on your own data, supplemented with other data from your industry or just on the internet or whatever to get to get the best results, and as opposed to having everyone handcraft these perfect dashboards and perfect reports and things like that. I think that work it'll stay, but it's going to be proportionally less because you're going to have machines that can answer the questions if it understands your data.
David, I really love dashboards and the whole aspect of data. But we didn't come here to talk about data. We came here to talk about what really creates the kind of growth that your company has experienced over the last few years. I know our team does research with everyone that comes on here. Loyalty and openness were the words that stood out the most. How did those two words impact the overall growth of your company?
Yeah, so if I look back, I founded at least the U.S. division of Analytics8 back in 2005 as a division of an Australian company, which at a later point we sold. So I've been working with some of the same folks for a very long time. So there is a deep loyalty and even a friendship with many of us that have been here for a long time. And I guess it goes all the way back to the beginning when I was I had a job. I worked for a company called Business Objects, since been acquired by SAP. But I left that job and I basically became an independent consultant. And I got real sad, one time thinking about, like, is this it? I'm making good money. I have freedom. I can, do what I want to do, but I'm kind of alone and I can only do this so much. I need to build a team. I need to have people around me. I need to be, that's what's going to fulfill me. I think that's where I can have a bigger impact. So, building that team and finding the people that I wanted to do this journey with has been a real highlight of my career, getting to work with some of these folks and growing up together and facing challenges together. And at this point, I'm really excited too, because not only do we have these folks, that have been with us for a long time, but we've got new blood that are real professionals in their area. Our CFO is only in a couple of years, a real expert in that area. Our chief revenue officer's been here about 6 months, but brought in a real, depth in that area, and the teams are able to work real well together. And I think, when I talk to, I know a lot of CEOs and a lot of leaders, and I think being open, is something that it distinguishes, our business, a little bit from most of those that I know. I think it's, my tendency is to be too open, so I have to be counseled to kind of hold back a little bit, because I think everyone, from what we do from a company, data, helps people make better decisions. So I want to give everyone as much data as I can to help them, do their jobs better. But there is a limit to that. I don't want every employee to, be looking at all of our, financial details, for example.
I don't want to not talk about this, like the whole openness thing. Is this your way of saying that you're transparent, or are you meaning something else?
No, I think I am very transparent. I think it's that's my natural tendency. I think I'm a very confident person, and I'm a very trusting person until proven otherwise. And it served me really well. And I think that openness is one thing that has allowed us to have allowed us to have these folks that have had successful careers with us for so long, and has engendered that loyalty, right? Because my office butts up against our chief marketing officer. She can hear every word I'm saying because these walls are thin, and I'm totally fine with it. There's nothing I'm going to say that I would be worried about.
We've been talking about transparency with David, and one of the tools I use inside my coaching is called the transparency line, and it really is a putting in clarity, like in words, maybe it's written words, what is okay to share and what's not okay to share. And that transparency line varies from people to people or maybe topic to topic, but in general, where is it within your company? A lot of people find value in knowing what it is and pushing and having that line challenged about what they can share with their people. Because I do believe this, a culture of openness is one that is fairly transparent. I would say remarkably transparent. And you want to make sure that you are being as transparent as you can be, but also not making you feel like you have kind of a transparency hangover, if you will, by you've shared too much. That's not a good thing either. So you want to know where your transparency line is, and I challenge you to make it on the remarkable side, being more remarkable, transparent than you feel comfortable doing. Back to David. I'm glad I clarified that because I want to make sure it's very clear. Transparency is one of the top topics of this podcast. In fact, when I did some research with fast growth companies like yourself, I think transparency was the top factor of what made them successful as a culture and as a team.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an exhaustive look at this, but it's basically after interviewing hundreds and hundreds of people, like 600 of people like yourself, transparency is a critical thing. But some people do take it too far. When you think about transparency, how do you wrestle between what to share and what not to share with your people?
So I think one of the tools I have that I've developed over the time is really, it is this team that trust that we have a lot of trust, and asking them getting their counsel. Hey, how much should I share about this? How much should I share about that? And I think there's certain aspects as the CEO that are appropriate for me to share. I need to share a lot about why are things a certain way, why this, why that, and talk a lot about the future, and express confidence about whatever we're doing, a new initiative or a new market or whatever's going on, and kind of use my position and my authority and the resources that I have to push us where we need to go and talk about those things all the time. And the thing that also is a little bit difficult is when things are going great, I want to share everything. Oh, our sales were up, 27.5%, right? And then it's a contrast, right? When things aren't as good, right? And so I have to balance, like, when things are good and when things are challenged, like to keep it a consistent level. People look to me to be, kind of a steady hand as we're moving forward. And I think that's the thing that, I think about being steady and being consistent, and having, like I said, that team around me that helps me do that. Should I say this? Should I say that? And it's very helpful. It's a few of our leaders are ones that are, particularly good at that I trust them.
Have you ever had to address and coach people on your team that didn't want to be as transparent with their team as you thought they should be? And how did you overcome that?
I think we've built a pretty good culture for that. I don't know that we had a lot of problems around that. I think, from the very beginning, we've set a pretty good example of that. One thing that can be a challenge for us, and something that we work on, is providing really good feedback to everyone. Really good, if you did it, if something wasn't good, it wasn't good. What are you going to do to make it better? If it was good, I think we're usually pretty good about that. But providing that, and even for our really high performers, we've got one of the things I think is one of the worst things you can do for really high performing people when they ask you, how am I doing? You say, you're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Talk again next time. Those high performers, they want to hear, what could I do better? And if you have some ideas, you're already, a 9 out of 10. But if you did this, you could be a 10 out of a 10. And then the bars move, right? Once they're that 10 out of a 10, now the expectations have moved a little bit, right? And they can do even more. So there's a I don't know where I read it, but there's some technique or some method of, when you're giving praise, to people that are performing at a very high level, you say, that's awesome. I expected that of you because you're so awesome. What's your next trick? What are you gonna do next? Surprise me. I'm excited to see what you can do the next time, and just keep raising that bar. So I think about that when I talk to folks, especially our high performers. It's not necessarily about giving, hey, you screwed this up and what are you going to do about it? It's, hey, you did an awesome job and what can you do to do even better?
We've been talking about giving praise, and I have a very simple tool that I want to share with you. And you may say it's so simple, I know this, but a lot of people don't know and don't practice this. And it comes from apologies. When you're young and your mom or dad ask you to apologize for something, you might get away with, I'm sorry, and leave it at that. But that's very generic. A very well done apology is done being specific. I apologize for fill in the blank. Be very specific. The more specific you are, the more genuine the apology is meant to be. Now, when it comes to praises, you can be general and say, oh, that was a really smart decision. You can be a little bit more specific by saying, really powerful spreadsheet that you created to help us analyze this. But you could go even further and be much more specific. And the more specific you are with your praise, the more genuine it's felt. It just lands differently. So it requires you to think about specifically what you're going to praise that person for and give some details so that they know it's not empty. It's not shallow. It's actually a deep praise, if you will. That's my take on it to improve your ability to praise others. Back to David. I want to zero in on this whole bit about praise because I think a lot of leaders struggle with this area.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you understand and you've rationalized it pretty well, but I literally have had people say, yeah, I'm not going to praise people for just doing their work, or I'm only going to praise when it's truly exceptional. And I take the other approach is like, I'm looking for things to praise them on because I want to inspire them with the accolades. And I want to be able to ask them, okay, well, what's next for you? When you are thinking about praise, how do you get people to give praise, even when they feel like, I don't know if they really need it, but.
There's a couple angles on that. I think, as a society, at least in America, right now, in the last, I don't know, this generation, even, everyone gets a participation trophy, nothing means anything. And I might agree with some of that, but I think the key thing is you got to be, and one of our values is authenticity. That's, be real. So if you don't praise someone if you don't think they deserve it. If they did a bad job, you wouldn't praise somebody, but if they did a pretty good job, it costs nothing, it makes somebody feel good. But it's also, you got to think about it. It's not just, like I said, great job. And what's next? Like, of course I expect that amazing performance out of you, but what's next? What was the second part of your question? So I think I had another idea, but I may have lost it.
When people are, some leaders in your team don't give as much praise as you think they should. How do you get them to open the praise gates?
Yeah. I tell a lot of folks, this is what I was thinking of, especially early in your career when you don't have a lot of authority. One of the things you can do to get authority, and it's almost a very selfish thing, is you can give praise. So no matter how your first day on the job, you're junior, you're associate consultant, whatever you are, you did a project and it elevates you. It makes you look good when you're the one giving somebody praise. It makes you look powerful, and it makes everyone feel good. You were in a group. Even if you're in school, right, and you did a group project, right, and you carried the whole thing and people kind of helped out a little bit or whatever, you praise the team. You say, hey, we did a great job, my whole team, this person, I'm really, really proud of what we did. Great job, guys. That makes everybody feel good. And if you take the opposite approach and feel that you carried it and a team didn't help and you complain about it, it doesn't get anybody anything. It just makes people think you're a jerk. Maybe they agree with you, maybe they don't, or even if they agree with you, they might kind of feel bad about it. But if they feel good about being part of a team that does a great job, and maybe they weren't the star player on the team, they can feel good about being, a member of that team. And then the next time, they're going to want that team to perform, even more. It's almost a trick, that you can use to elevate your own authority by giving praise. And that's a big piece of advice I give to people, any part of their career.
I like that. And I don't think anyone's ever shared that across all of these interviews. So it's a very detailed thing that if you give more praise, people look at you differently and treat you with a little bit more respect and authority. We're talking about the culture of openness, and just curious as we wrap up today's conversation, is there anything that you feel like is necessary to talk about that we haven't already addressed in terms of culture of openness?
That's a pretty open-ended question. I don't have a ready answer to that. I don't have a quick one on that. I'm sure if I thought about it for a minute, I would though.
Let me ask you one final question about leadership. Like, a lot of people have made mistakes as leaders.
Mhm.
They've learned from those mistakes, and now that they see leadership differently. Is there a mistake that you have overcome in the last few years that you could share with us?
Yeah, I would say it's almost a turning point in my career, and a part where the company really started taking off in terms of growth. I'll go back to about 2017, and there was, from a personal perspective, I was very overweight. I was not happy. Things weren't going great at work, and I was kind of just in a bad mood. And then it culminated in me, I blew out my knee, right? So I'm hurt. I'm overweight. Things aren't going great at work. But at that time, I had signed up for a leadership course at Harvard Business School called Authentic Leadership Development. And I know a few people that have done that. And that actually came as a result of doing some internal, I guess I don't want to take the story too long, but we had done 360s, and I'm used to getting like great reviews all the time. And at this particular time, like I said, things weren't going great. I wasn't feeling right. And these reviews, they're anonymous and they weren't fantastic. They weren't terrible, but it wasn't great. And so as a result of that, I talked to some people that I trust. They said, you ought to, check out this course, see if you can get in. And I took it. It had me thinking about things a little bit differently. So, coming back from that, I looked at things a little bit differently about how I led, about, who I am and how I should behave and how I want to lead, how people want to be led, and kind of change my approach. I used to have a much more, I thought I needed to have a lot of consensus among my team. And I'd ask everybody what they thought, and I would kind of put it together. And it turns out, I was doing that just because I thought I was supposed to do that. And it's not that I don't try to get consensus, but now I try to really kind of have the vision, inspire people, and then let them do their thing to make that happen. Help them when I need to. So it's more like a coach and a visionary kind of, if I were to choose, the things that I did that's what I would do. And it's been a big change in the company when I've kind of been open about that, let other people do their thing, support them in that, and we've been a lot more successful. And I think it just unleashes the power of everyone around you when you don't try to control everything.
Great conversation with us, David, about a culture of openness and really helping us understand what it took to take your business to that next level. So thanks for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Incredible conversation with David. I really appreciate the warmth that he brings to this and the humanness to leadership. Having a culture of openness is not just a nice to have. I think it's really necessary. I had a team meeting today, and I shared with them the revenue at the end of the year for 2023 so that they get a feel for, how far we've come. And it was the real revenue number. It wasn't some, fake number or, some mass number. And it's massive, the growth and impact we've had this year. And I want my team to be proud about it. If the number wasn't so good, there are certainly things that we need to talk about. We have that sense of openness that we're willing to talk about all those things so that they can rally for us. So just things to think about as you think about a culture of openness. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.